Hello, this is Lawrence Liu, your Business 11 instructor. In this brief video, I'm going to walk through an example of how to draw an entity relationship diagram following a four-step process. First, let's look at the business scenario. Here is the description of the business and specific information about the database that we would like to design. You may wish to pause the recording, read the description, and restart the video when you are ready to proceed. In order to draw an entity relationship diagram, you can follow a four-step process. I will list the steps and then apply each step to the example business scenario you read in the previous slide. First, you will identify the necessary entities or categories of data you wish to store in the database. Next, you will list the required attributes or data elements for each entity. Third, you will determine the appropriate relationships between entities. And finally, you will determine the min and max cardinality for each relationship. In order to begin drawing an entity relationship diagram, you need to identify the entities in your diagram. Let's look at the original problem description to see if we can find the entities there. If we read the exercise, we can find that there are three entities: employees, departments, and children. Once we know the entities, we can draw them representing each entity as a box and labeling it appropriately. Once you have drawn the entities, the next step is to identify the necessary attributes and add them to your drawing. Let's return to the problem description to look for the attributes. While each entity may have a large number of data elements which can be collected and stored, we should capture only the data elements which are necessary for our business. In the problem description, we find that there are specific attributes which were called out for each entity. It is these attributes which we should add to our drawing. Notice that the attributes Social Security number, department number, and child ID are listed at the top of the list of attributes and are each underlined in their respective boxes. This is because these attributes have a special purpose. They are known as primary keys, unique data values that can locate a specific row in each entity table. For example, in the employee table, the Social Security number can be used to locate a specific employee in the employee table, thereby enabling you to find all of the data associated with that employee. After including the necessary attributes into your entity relationship diagram, you will next determine the relationships between entities that should be logically connected. In this example, there are only two relationships that we need to capture. First, we will connect the entities employee and department, indicating that an employee works in a specific department. Second, we will connect the entities employee and children to represent that an employee is the parent of a child. The last step in drawing your entity relationship diagram is to identify and draw min and max cardinalities for each relationship in your diagram. In order to assist us, we can refer to the facts given in the problem statement. Analyzing each statement individually can help us to determine what the min and max cardinalities are. Let's examine the first statement. An employee in the database works in one department. What does this have to say about the min and max cardinality for department in the employee-department relationship? If an employee works in one department, we can infer that the employee works in at least one department and at most one department. Hence, the min cardinality is 1, and the max cardinality is also 1. The min cardinality of 1 can be represented by a 1, or perpendicular line, crossing the relationship line next to the department entity. Similarly, the max cardinality is represented by a single line going into the department entity. Let's analyze the next statement. A department in the database has at least one employee working in it. If at least one employee works in a department, then the min cardinality for employee in the employee-department relationship is 1, and can be represented as a perpendicular line crossing the relationship line next to the employee entity. While there is no statement regarding the maximum number of employees that can work in a department, it's reasonable to assume that many employees can work in a single department, and therefore the max cardinality for employee is many, which can be represented by 3 lines drawn into the employee entity. This is also known as a crow's foot. We can next move on to the statement, an employee may have 1 or more children. This statement provides us with information about the cardinalities for the children entity in the employee-children relationship. If an employee may have 1 or more children, then the min cardinality is 0. We can infer this because if an employee may have 1 or more children, they may also have no children. To represent a min cardinality of 0, place a 0 or oval over the relationship line near the children entity. For max cardinality, directly from the statement, an employee may have more than 1 or many children. We can use a crow's foot to represent this. Finally, we can review the last statement. A child in the database has only 1 parent who works for Serendipity. This provides us with information about the cardinalities for the employee entity in the employee-children relationship. Similar to the first statement we analyzed, an employee in the database works in 1 department, we can infer from the statement, a child has only 1 parent who works for Serendipity, to mean that both min and max cardinalities are 1, and can be represented as a single perpendicular line near the employee entity, and a single line going into the employee entity. And there you have it. We've drawn an entity relationship diagram using a 4-step process. Once you have mastered this skill, you will be well on your way towards becoming a successful data professional.